My channel blew up on its very first video, amassing almost 100k views, and my second video did almost 200k, which made me get monetized in just 9 days, on a fresh channel with 0 subscribers. A feat I previously thought to be impossible, until I learned what I'm about to teach you in this video. And the best part is, it all hinges on a strategy that I've never heard anyone else teach on YouTube. So stick around to understand how to get your underrated channel monetized by the end of the month, probably even the week. But first, I want you to picture something. You're a new YouTuber on the platform who's just made his first video and you're filled with passion. In that passion, you post and post and post, but because your channel has 0 subscribers and no new ways of getting eyes, all these videos get 0 views and you're stuck wondering how to even get views in the first place. You try learning garbage like search engine optimization and how to get your videos to rank in search, but that results in you making videos that you didn't even want to make in the first place, just to try get some views and appeal to the algorithm. And in the end, you still get no views anyway, which makes you feel like garbage, wondering if you're just not one of the lucky chosen few. Even if that doesn't sound like you, that's my story, because the channel I'm talking about blowing up in this video is not my first rodeo. I failed for years before ever learning what worked on this platform, but that all changed the day I started to learn about the things I'm gonna teach you in this video. The first of which being the day I found out about YouTube's most prominent source of views and overnight channel blowups. This should be fairly obvious to some of you, but a lot of people still don't know, and that is the fact that search is pretty much useless now, because most people find videos through recommended. The video titles that were working looked more like simple sentences with good thumbnails, as opposed to trying to mash as many SEO keywords into titles like it used to be back in my day. Filled by curiosity, I dug deep into the whole of YouTube growth advice and learned all about YouTube's recommendation algorithm based on watch time, audience retention, and click-through rate. You know, all the stuff that you've already heard about in every other video. But it's just that everybody was saying the same thing and would never answer the question of how I was going to even get the watch time on my videos if I never had any views or subscribers to begin with. It's like saying I need experience to get a job, but if I don't get a job, I can't get experience. This question plagued me for years before I eventually figured it out. And since you're looking for the answers too, you'll be surprised to find out that I actually found 2 amazing solutions to this question, with one being the real answer and the other being a sort of cheat code method that I found out before I found the real answer. To be fair though, both do work, and the cheat code one is actually what blew up my channel, so I'll teach you both. See, the real solution is what I didn't know about YouTube for years. The truth is, the notion that if you post a video with 0 subscribers and 0 views that nobody will ever see it is a lie. It's very easy to believe because it's logical and it's how platforms like Instagram work, and as far as I knew, TikTok was the only platform that gave free views to people with no following. However, YouTube is a lot more similar to TikTok than most people realize, and I'm not talking about shorts. And that is because every single video you upload gets promoted in the algorithm, even if you can't see it. It's just a matter of whether it keeps getting pushed or dies down. And the only reason you can't see that is because you're looking at the wrong metric. If you're like most people, you're probably just looking at the views and saying, why isn't YouTube giving me any? But that's because the algorithm, whether you're small or big, cannot give you views. What you actually need to be looking at are impressions. And getting you these impressions is YouTube's only job. All they can do is show the video to more people, but it's the people's choice if they want to click. And so if you go to your analytics right now and you see your video has any impressions at all, 100, 200, 500, especially if the source says browse features, newsflash, I'm sure 500 of your family members didn't go to your page. Congratulations, you just found out that you are already in the algorithm and it's not some special privilege given to big channels. However, if this information was the ultimate solution, this video would be over right here. But there's just one problem. The main issue with this method is that it takes patience. And I don't just mean a regular amount of patience where you're waiting on a timer to run out or a specific date to arrive. I mean the type of patience where you don't know if it's gonna take a week, a month, or a year. I've had channels where a video was dead for 3 months and then blew up to hundreds of thousands of views and was the video to change my entire life. And so this method requires so much patience that despite being a YouTuber for over a decade, it genuinely made me believe that it didn't exist and I needed external views. And as I like to say as a black person, ain't nobody got time for that. But what I do have time for is making cheat codes to save myself time and make myself money. And this cheat code takes takes the principles you just learned and makes it so that the algorithm starts giving you impressions early. I'm talking same day early. I mean going from 0 subscribers to 1K in under a week early. So make sure you pay close attention before one day this doesn't work anymore. You see, before I figured out that I could just upload and wait for my channel to be recommended by the algorithm, like I said, I genuinely thought it was impossible to just sit down and wait for views to come when I had no subscribers. If you post a pic on IG, it could be the best pic in the world, but if you have no followers, nobody's gonna see that. And so I figured in my head I needed desperately to drum up some traffic of my own. However, I was also at least smart enough to know that sharing my videos to friends was a bad idea because I knew they wouldn't watch the full videos. And paying for ads is about the only thing I could have done even worse than that. And so I realized that what I needed was a source of people who were interested enough to look for the video on their own, because only those who are willing to look for the video of their own volition would be interested enough to watch the full thing. And the only place I knew that could give me that, except for a literal celebrity shoutout, is TikTok. And so in a desperate attempt to get my first few tens of subscribers, I made a TikTok page for my channel and said, hey, even if this doesn't get much views, because TikTok shows every video to at least 200 people bare minimum for free, if I post enough, at least a few people will eventually subscribe, and once I get the ball rolling, I'll have what I need. And so that is exactly what I did. However, I was about to discover one of the most life-changing revelations I've ever experienced as a YouTuber. After I posted the video and went to bed, I woke up the next morning not to see 100 views, but 100,000. And I was absolutely blown away. But of course, it made sense, because if you think about it, these videos I was posting to TikTok were not only highly edited, but the topics were relevant. And I don't know if you know this, but TikTok is way easier to blow up on than almost any platform out there. You can pick up your phone and tell a story time about Starbucks this morning, and as long as you do it in an engaging way with a nice text at the top, you can get a lot of views. With that being said, if you take a video that's of YouTube's standard of editing and post it to a platform like TikTok, chances are it's going to perform very well because the barriers to entry are just that low. And sure enough, after posting more clips of my videos, my TikTok page started to really go up. And sure enough, my channel, after being dead for 3 whole days with 0 views, started gaining some traction. Tens of views, 50 views, 100 views. And after the first few hundred from TikTok, the algorithm started to do its thing. And 10 days later, well, you saw the title of this video. Oh, but Decoded, this is nothing new. I already do all these things and I'm still not blowing up. Well, let's just say in the unlikely scenario that you're doing all of this perfectly right, you're getting views from your TikTok and your YouTube still isn't being pushed, that means that there are one of 2 possibilities. Either A, your video's retention and CTR are not as good as you think they are, and you're simply deluding yourself into thinking that just because you spent a lot of time on a video inherently makes it good content. Or B, you genuinely do have a world-class level video with all the necessary metrics, but it's missing the X factor. And the X factor is surprisingly a relevant topic. I know it's such a simple explanation, but literally this is low-key more important than everything else in the video. I'll be the first to say that if my videos were about something that was not as relevant, they would not have gone anywhere. Because I've seen bad videos with good topics go viral, and good videos with topics nobody cares about sink under the water. The truth is, aside from watch time, topic is how YouTube even knows how to recommend videos. Even Mr. Beast himself says that one good idea is better than 10 okay ones. And so genuinely, it could be that you're just not really appealing to any particular demographic with your videos. If I post the best vlog with the best editing and best retention in the world, chances are if nobody knows who I am, they're probably just not gonna click on it. On my video that blew up, the topic was very interesting in my genre of music, and so people were motivated to click and watch the whole thing. But if it were something nobody cared about, well, it definitely wouldn't have done much. And so I'm not saying you can't make videos about things that only you want to talk about, but it's probably best you save that for when you actually have an audience. Another underrated factor that may make it harder to blow up is your niche. For example, a channel like this one that talks about business and marketing is genuinely far more difficult to grow than one of those channels that just talks about the latest news in pop culture. But I'll make a video dedicated to this one of these days, so if you want to subscribe to learn more about my YouTube journey and steal all of the tricks I've used to make myself money over the years, subscribe to the channel for more. And as always, this topic has been decoded.